Hi guys, I'm going to show you how to deploy MVC project with a database and a deployment server. The deployment server that we choose now is smartersp.net. What are the steps that we have to follow? The following 5 steps. Number 1, you need to have a domain or subdomain. If it is your client website, it has to be deployed properly to a domain name. But in our case, we're going to use subdomain because we got plenty of other projects on that domain name. We need to have a database SQL server because we are using SQL server. That should be created on our server like smartersp, and we have to deploy our database from Visual Studio here. And then we need to test our debug the MVC project to make sure that there is no error and all the dependencies are installed and any related files, bootstrap, CSS are all there. And then the 4th step is to publish the Visual Studio project. We need to get all the deployment info from the server like smartersp, the server name, the username, the password, and any other related information. We have to collect it from the server, which I'm going to show you now in a few minutes. And number B, test connection to ensure that Visual Studio is talking to the server. So when we do all these steps, we have to make sure that our Visual Studio deployment is actually talking to the server, where we're going to deploy our files and folders. And number C, provide the connection string of the server database in Visual Studio. As we already have deployed the database here, we need to get that server name, username, and password, and we have to provide that in Visual Studio to make sure that all connected, the project and database, the front end and the back end, and they all work together. And then there's a publish button to press. So let's see. Let's apply all these stages. So first of all, let me show you the project. Oh, this is the project which is already running. It has all the related files and folders in a database in the app data folder, and we got all the contents here, the bootstrap files. The controller classes are here, which are cars, customers, and home, and the images are all in this folder. Our model classes are here, car and customer, and the views for cars, they're all here, customers all here, and then the web config file and all the stuffs. This project is already running. Let me have a quick look. Let's see. This is the project. This is a small project with I think only 2 tables in it. So it has a car rented system developed by one of my students. So these are all the cars, and this is the database. I'm going to help him to deploy this on the server. Right, so this is running right now local machine on my machine with that port number, and that's the controller name and the view name and stuff. Right, let's close this. We don't need this here. We're going to see this soon on our deployment server. Let me go to the control panel. This is the control panel where we're going to deploy that Visual Studio project. It has number of subdomains and other databases, other projects deployed already. Right, sorry, they are all the databases. This is we have to do as well. Let's create this first. Let's create database, doesn't matter the order. Right, I'm going to create SQL Server 2017. I can't try this right now for a reason. Let me call this car for hire. That's his project name, so let's follow that. The password, there's already password. I prefer the control panel password and the database password same, so you don't get confused. Right, default space is 1000 MB, but I prefer just 100, or maybe let's say 200 MB, that's a lot for this project anyway. Okay, let's click submit. So this step is going to create a database for us. Right, this here, this is the database. We will need the database name, the username, and the server name, all these information for the deployment. Right, let's do this step first. Right, we are already here, so we are going to, well, we are in step 2. This step 1 and step 2 doesn't really make a big difference to be in any order. Right, so the database is, this is the database name. So we have to deploy our own database. Right. Let's click on this, modify code, web connect, shrink. With the web connect, it shows you, okay, let's see, connect. It already has my password and login details. So if you click on the table, there are no tables here. Yeah, so there are no tables here. That's what we need to do. Right, says backup, restore database. So let's click on this because this is an empty database that we just created. Okay guys, let's go to the project folder. Where is the project? Here. This is the project. So within this project, if you go to car for hire, and let's say app data. So this is the MDF file, and this is the log file. These are the files, and this is the .back file, the backup files. So let's deploy. We'll try to deploy MDB if that works. If not, then we got a backup file anyway. Because this server may require the backup file instead of .mdb. So let's choose. Right, let's go to car hire and let's say app data. Let's choose the MDB first. MDF, sorry. So let's click on upload. Upload completed. Click restore. So we created a database and we uploaded our database file there. It says unable to make a remote call. That means there is a problem. Right. So to upload to this specific server, probably they're looking for .back file. So let's try that one. We already created a backup of this file. So this is the backup file of that MDF file. Okay, let's try again with this file. Oh, sorry, it's already written because this server used to accept that MDF file, but very recently, not recently, 5-6 months ago, something like that, they're now asking for that back file. Right. Let's see now. Hopefully it will work now. Okay, it gone well. Right. Now let's come back to this. That database is already open. Or maybe let's do it again. Let's go to that database, which is car for hire. Right. These are the little options here. Let me click the web connect again to see if my database tables and my data is already there. Right. Let me click. This is the database name. Let me click the tables. Oh, it's all there. Now if I click on my customers, I should be able to see all my customers with a customer ID, name, last name, first name, address, and all these things. That's the structure. If you want to see the data, then click on that. All these guys, they are the customers in this database. In short, when you see the database tables here in this database, which is actually on the server, it's not the Visual Studio one, that means that the one major step is done. So the database is deployed. So that bit is done. That's already done. And this one I already show you the database is running properly without any error. So let's close that. I will come back to this later during the deployment time. I have to get all these details to give it to Visual Studio. So I will come back to this later. Let me get back to the other step that says we need a domain name. So let's go and get a domain name. Let's click on subdomain. Right, I will give it the same name, car for hire. Right, that's the domain name. Create a new folder. So this will create a new folder because we don't have this folder. If this folder was already created, then you have to just click here and choose the folder. But we don't have this anyway, so let's click on create. subdomain added. Okay, let's scroll down and find it. Here it is. If I click this and I see this welcome message, that means that this is the subdomain is created. We have to deploy our project here. Yeah. Right. So that is done nicely. If I click on this folder, that takes me to the file manager. The message that you see here, that message, is actually this default.asp file. Honestly speaking, we don't need this. You can just delete this. Where is the delete option here? Oh, did I? Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. Okay, that's done. So now, if I go back to this and refresh it, it shows that access is denied or whatever, it's not there. That's fine. That's not a problem at all. Right, so we got the domain name. The next thing, I need to click on these dot dot dot. See that? Manage website. So I see all the options for this specific domain name. Right, like FTP access, visitor statistics, domain manager, quite a lot of useful stuff here. Or if I want to delete the entire subdomain, I can click on this and just delete that. But that's not what we want anyway. This is the important option now. The deploy the Visual Studio deploy web deploy options. This is what we all these info we need right now. Okay, so what you see here with this, we did that step. So we have a subdomain where we're going to deploy our files and folders and images and bootstrap and all the stuffs. This one is done. You can see our database table are already there on the server. This one I show you at the beginning. Our project runs nicely, smoothly on our local machine. So these three steps are done. Now you need to go to these steps. We need to go to Visual Studio and deploy it. Right, let's minimize this. Go back to Visual Studio. Right click on the project. And there is an option here, Publish. Right, in this Publish, right, I already did something for him. So let me delete that another profile. Let me start all from scratch, right from the beginning. So when you right click and publish, you see this window. Right, click on this. Okay, so you got plenty of options if you want to have some deployment web services, Azure, IIS, and folder. You're going to choose this option, IIS and FTP. I click on publish. Right. So now this is where we need to go back to our Microsoft Word file. So we need to get all the deployment info and provide it to Visual Studio from the server, from the Smarter ASP. And then we have to test the connection that this Visual Studio is connected to the server. Let's do that. Let's go to that deploy info that I just showed you a while ago. So we're going to web deploy info. The first thing it will ask me the server name. Yeah, this is the server name. Yeah, this is actually that folder where our files will be deployed. That one. Now the next thing asking me the site name. Right, there are two. It says the site name this one, but this one, the application site name, you have to choose this option. Yeah. Right, so let's do that. Now the username. Right, the username is this. Had to copy and paste it here. And then here the password. Okay. I have the password. What is it? Let me see. I have written some. It's here. Let me type the password. Okay, save the password because I may have to come back to this step couple of times if there are any issues. The last thing it asks me here is the destination URL. That's your subdomain name, this one. Yeah, copy this. This is where the people or the public, they're going to visit this project. So I just copied that and say validate connection. Right, it's just a security warning. Yeah, let's accept that. Excellent. That's green. That means this Visual Studio is connected now to that server. Great. Now go next. Right. This is actually the database connection string that we have to provide. But before that, I want to click this one as well, the precompiled during publishing. It's just a good option. Then I have to provide all the details. Right, there is a connection string in Visual Studio. Yeah, if you go to webconfig file, but this one is different than that one. Here, the Visual Studio will generate this based on my data that I'm going to insert now. These are two options that you have to turn them true: persist security info and trust server certificate. Enable them, and here all these details they're asking me about the database which is already deployed on the Smarter SP. So I'm going back to my database, the one we created a while ago, and we deployed our database. Right, so it asked me the server name. This is the server name for the database. Right, and asking me the username. This is the username. You see that? With the admin word in it? That's the username. It could be anything depending on your server. What is the last thing asking me? Oh, password. Right, it's the same password as the control panel, so I already have it on my notebook. Big. Oh. Right, I typed the password. Okay, the database name. Well, if there's internet connection, you're looking for this from drop-down list. With a poor internet connection, it may take some time. The easy way is just copy the database name and insert it here. I think there's extra space. Let me remove that. Right, so what I did here, destination connection string. Yeah, enter information to connect to the selected data source, or click change to choose a different data source. So what I did, SQL Server database, I provided the server name, the username, the password, and database table name. And let me test the connection. Oh, it looks like there's a problem. Login failed. User admin. Why is that? Is that to do with my password? Let me try again. Excellent. Sorry guys, I think I typed the wrong password a while ago. Okay, if I click OK, look, that connection string, it looks quite similar to what we have in our web config, but the difference you see here is the data source is this server name online, not local DB or local database or something like we have. Okay, it looks like it's all good now. So what we did now, we connected to the Visual Studio folder. We're going to files and images and CSS and Bootstrap. They're going to be deployed. And then we also connected Visual Studio to our database where our data is already uploaded. So let's click on the Save button. Right. And now what you see here is deploying the files and folders. It may take a couple of minutes. So all these files and folders and all these images and whatever you see here, these Bootstrap stuffs and controller, they're all going to be deployed on the remote server. and the database is already there. So we provided the connection string and they're going to talk to each other. So we can see our data from the database displayed in our website. Okay, that's the good news. 1 succeed, 0 failed. It should show us now. Okay, it's already opening here. Oh, great. Look at this. This is now no more on the local machine. This is right now running on the server. So if I click on rent, I should be able to see the data. Look, these are all those cars that we have in our local machine. And if I click on that, right. So that's his files and folders, his home page, right? And the deployment is done successfully. As you can see, carforhire.bibic.co.uk, right? The deployment is successful. So that's how the database and the Visual Studio project, MVC projects could be deployed on a server. Thank you guys for watching this, and goodbye.